right. Everything seems to be working. I just gotta make sure if I'm doing it on the right channel. Ah, there we go. Here I am. All right, I am here, and I can see the chat. That's awesome. All right, welcome everyone. I will take the thing here. So yeah, let me just put my stuff here. Welcome to Norluck Rune Divination. Sorry, Norluck Rune Wizards first live stream. So I thought I would just make it a live stream, because one of the problems that I usually have is when I'm recording a video, you know, I'm recording these videos to explain, like, you know, what I have. I'm trying to unpack everything that I learned so I can just like put it to the world, whoever watches it, whoever wants to watch it. And you know, the problem I usually have is, oh no, I'm kind of perfectionistic, so I thought I would just do a live stream. You know, I retry the video over and over again. I record the video, I delete it, and I record it again. I know it's a common problem with YouTubers until they, you know, learn how to do it. And I'm like, you know what, that's like a problem for me, and it's like kind of slowing me down. I'm just gonna open the live stream, and I'll just, even though the camera from my laptop is worse than my phone, I thought I'll just like, I won't give myself a chance to delete a video, so I'll just like put myself on a live stream. So yeah, I wanted to, you know, in this, like, I wanted to talk on some spiritual topics. You know, I made a video on what is the importance of spiritual practices, or like, why do we do spiritual practice? And I want to talk more about what, why, you know, the importance of it, right? And I took some notes, because, you know, and I'm just gonna go slowly. I'm just gonna talk a little bit, and yep. So yeah, so let's see. Oh yeah, by the way, at the end, as you can see on the title of this live stream, I will be playing my handpan that I have right here. Let me grab it. Right there. This guy. I'll be playing this. I'm just gonna practice it a little bit, because you know, on my TikTok I realized that I got like so many views, so people like when I play that, and it's apparently helpful to people. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play that. I'm just gonna put that back in its place. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, I thought, oh, hang on, let me actually check my audio just in case, because this microphone sometimes goes bad. Test. Nope, it is doing perfectly fine. So, all right. So I want this to be like a video rather than a live stream. So I'm just gonna get into the topic. So the topic I wanted to talk about is like more on the importance of spiritual practices, and I want to get on the effects on like the importance of it, like what do they do. Yeah, I mean, I talked about in my videos that it calms you down, that it gives you that intuition. You know, in some cases it increased synchronicities, because now you're following your soul instead of, you know, letting your impulses confuse you and control you, your unconscious, your destructive mindset control you and distract you. You know, you say, oh, I don't have money to do this, and you don't go forward and do it. You just say, oh, I'll just, you know, save for my 401k, and, you know, my 401k, and I'll just, you know, live a calm life, and one day I'll make enough money, and maybe if I hit my 60s I can just do some stuff. Well, I mean, you can, but one thing that I learned is that whatever, like, the fear it is, when there's a fear, when you act through your fear, and I'm still learning this, by the way, as I'm following my soul, as I'm trying to follow what I want to do, you know, following my own life, what my soul wants, following that joy. I'm learning that the more I feel that fear and I follow that fear, I agree with that fear, I agree with the path that fear draws for me, the more I go forward with that path, the more miserable my life becomes. And that's the same thing. It's the the fear of money, like, oh my god, I'm gonna be if what if I don't have much money for that, what if this happens, what if that happens. Yeah, it's hard to take risks, right? So it feels hard because you're afraid. But to that I'll say, what was it called? As above, so below? No, I think it had a better term. What was it? I heard it somewhere. Oh, as outside, so inside, something like that. Like, so like the main thing is this world is a projection of you. So whatever you feel, whatever you allow, it's going to manifest in your life. You allow your fear to, oh, I'm afraid to do this, let's save money or whatever. Let your fears do some stuff, let yourself worry. A lot of people say save your money. Maybe you should save your money, I don't know, but like, what does your soul say? What do you want to do? Take some risks, right? It doesn't usually help, because when you go with that fear, when you have this thing with that fear, when you go on a life with that fear, then you end up in a life where you feel more fear. You live inside it. Then you basically, the door has been open for you and you go inside. But when you think about what you want and you feel that joy and you follow that joy and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna commit myself into it, then those doors happen to you. What was it story? I heard a story long time ago. There's like two wolves, one black and one white or whatever. They're two wolves, and they're fighting with each other. And then the old man tells the story, and the kid says, "Who wins?" Or like, I don't know the context, but like the question is like, who wins? Which wolf is going to win? And the man says, whichever you feed, right? One of them is your fears, your impulses. One of them is your joy, your whatever, dharma or life mission, or whatever you want to call it, God's will, whatever it is. So essentially that's my, I would say essentially that's my philosophy right now. It's I do feel afraid a lot of the times, but I also feel much more healthy. I feel much more happier than the life that I have. And I've come to a point where I'm like, I don't want to live anything other than this. I thought about, why would I don't know, graduate from somewhere that I won't even work from. And when I was in college, I would say, like, why would I even graduate from somewhere that I'm not even going to, like, I'm not, if I don't even like this major, why would I even continue from this? Because I know what life am I gonna get, because in college we don't really, for me at least, the only thing I want is to go, okay, finish this exam, rest, finish this exam, rest. I always thinking, the next thought was like, okay, I just want to rest so I can sleep longer, so I don't have to go to college, so I don't have to play games all day. I'm a gamer, so I can just do some lazy stuff all day. I wasn't even thinking about what I wanted. And that life was really boring. And now that I have my own life, I'm trying to follow what I truly want. I don't want to go back to that life ever again. Because at some point I thought about, wait, okay, so what this life is leading me, I'm like, I noticed a pattern. I'm only thinking about the next vacation, and it's not a happy life. Most of the time I'm miserable. So what am I gonna do? I'm going forwards a life where, like, okay, this major, I don't like this major. Let's say I graduated somehow, right? I don't like this branch of a job. So why am I even going there? because I know I'm gonna I will try at least to get a job from that branch, from that profession, and I would never do that. You know, I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say. Here's the thing: a lot of people say, I'm getting out of topic, by the way. This is my live stream, a bit amateur, I guess, but I'm just flowing through it. I'm gonna try to stick to the topic, because it's predetermined. The topics are predetermined. But you know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, but you'll get money." You know, oh, coding and this and being a doctor or whatever has more money. You should get those jobs and you have more money so you can be stable, so you can have more life. To that, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't sound like a happier life for me. Yes, I will have the money, but like, I will every day I will be going to that. I will be going to that place that I didn't want. I mean, I know a lot of people who are graduated and now they're doing their jobs, right? I mean, as a room counselor, right? But I also heard from like a lot of people outside of me, outside of my work. They're graduated, they done it, they hustled through it, they grinded, and now they have it. But now they're like, okay, I got the job I want, and I'm working, I'm making money, but like I feel empty inside. I'm like, I'm hitting my 30s. I don't know what I'm. I thought it was gonna be better. Yes, I have a house, but like, I feel miserable inside, and I heard this a lot. You know, so it's just one of those things that make me think, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live a life like that. I'll just get on with my own life and do my own stuff and follow my soul. I'll just take the risk. So I mean, yeah, here's the thing, maybe anyways, yeah. But yeah, let's not go out of the topic more. So I mean, again, that's the one thing. Another thing that the spirit why the spiritual practices are important is because of this thing called meridians. Now, what is meridians? You're gonna find this talk about meridians in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, a lot. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. You can look it up, and in that you'll see a lot of pathways. There's like so many veins. It looks like in a chart of human body. Now those are like basically what acupuncturists use. They know all those points, and depending on what meridians you have, they put it there. So what are meridians? Meridians are basically your energy pathways. All those, the reason why you're doing that spiritual practice is that you want to open that energy meridians up, because with the trauma and whatever you've been going through, that thing was clogged. So what you want to do is you want to open that meridian up so the energy can move to your organs better. So that way you're less likely to get chronic disease. I'm not a doctor, don't count me on that, but that's the whole thing of spiritual medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. The meridians. You want to clean that up. You want a clean flow of energy through your organs. Because here's the thing, there are meridians that carry the organs together. They hold the organs together, and there's this thing called I'm going to this like qigong class every week. And I recently learned this thing called Sanjuan in TCM, which is the thing that carries all the energy around, that helps the meridians and carries all the energy around, or something like that. Sanjuan. I don't even know how it's written. I just heard about it. But there are meridians. For example, 5 elements, right? Like for example, liver, right? Liver, there's a specific meridian for the liver that you can touch, from your body, and goes to the liver. Maybe go from your face, it goes to your face, maybe to your fingers. You know what? Why won't I just open that up while I talk about it? Meridian charts, TCM. Yeah. The main meridian channel. Yeah, I'll just use this. But yeah, I mean, those are basically the meridians, and meridians carries that energy to your body. For example, liver and some organs represents an emotion within you. You know, if you have a lot of resentments, your liver, you gotta be careful of your liver, for example, right? Or your anger or your liver. Sorry, your anger or your resentments, especially resentments. You know, what are resentments, by the way? You know, resentments are the angers that you feel, but like you haven't resolved it, and you keep feeling that until it becomes that anger becomes resentment. You know, resentment, you know, comes from resentire. It's like a Latin word. The root, it comes from a Latin word. It's like resentire. Sentire is to feel, and resentire is to refeel. So it's like fears you feel over and over again. Also considered resentments if you want, you know, if you want to look at it that way. But like resentments are like the angers you feel over and over, and it doesn't leave you alone. You know, the feelings that you're trying to push all the time whenever it comes up. Well, guess what? If you push it down, it's not gonna go away. You know, that's like the whole rule. It doesn't work. It doesn't really work that way. So, image. Browse and add that. There you go. So let's take a look at it. I'm just gonna, yeah, so like this is how meridians look like. I don't know if I got the right thing, but you know, these are basically like veins, or your like nervous system. You know, in here, if you look at it, it says you know, small intestine, triple healer, you know, heart, kidney, gallbladder. So like there's, for every organ there are things. And what acupuncturist does is, if you see these like little dots on that line, they put those needles there depending on whatever thing you have. I'm not an acupuncturist, but yeah, so like that's the whole meridian stuff. So long story short, that's what meridians are, and all the spiritual practices also help with that. So that's one thing, right? Let's see, what do we have? Yeah. Yeah. What else? I was gonna say something about the meridians. Well, it'll come back to me. So spiritual practices open up meridians so energy can flow freely. I talked about that. The benefits are intuition, that I talked about in my previous video, that it gives you the intuition to navigate through your life. You know, if you want to do something, you're afraid, you feel alone, you feel lonely, you feel hopeless, you do some energy practices to give you that power, right? That's like the whole thing, because you know, your soul, or you know, not your soul, but like your whole energy body is kind of designed that way, for where it leads you to your utmost joyful life, right? And you work on that, and you allow that body to go through it. You give yourself the energy to do that, you know. And by the way, like, but when I talk about energy, I'm talking about this, you know, like spiritual energy. So it's not like caffeine. So like when I talk about energy, you know, I do spiritual practices by night, and I feel sleepy. Oh, and you know, it gives you the, you know, power. Oh, sorry, yeah, it makes you very sleepy when you do spiritual practices at night, because it's you know, some will be like, hey, you know, I did it at night and I became even more sleepy. Well, yeah, you know, one thing I heard about spiritual practices is, if you're doing it and if you're falling asleep, you know, let's say, like, you know, it's like 9 p.m. and you don't want to go to sleep because like you still want to just hang out, right? Maybe talk to some friends, get a drink or whatever. Go to the bar with your friends. But when you do the spiritual practice, you just want to sleep. And one thing I heard about it is when you do I heard that it takes more muscles to keep your eyes closed than to keep them open. It's a very interesting thing. So it's easier to do this. So it's harder to do this than to do this. So when you do that energy practice, it gives you that energy to close your eyes, and your body just kind of goes in that healthy, stable state. When you do the energy practice, your body feels kind of cleansed after that qigong exercise, and now your body is perfectly ready to go into that REM state. So it gives you more energy in that way. So that's like this is an interesting thing that I heard. So yeah, it gives you the power to it also gives you the power to transform. I also talked about that. When you want to go through that stuff, I also talked about this in my previous video, where if you want to have that stuff which just kind of flows through your body, and you want that, you want to work through your emotions, you want to work through your resentments, your fears. Doing spiritual practice is going to push them up slowly to this. It will raise them to the surface so we can face them, essentially. So we can face them, so we can take a look at them again. It gives you the opportunity to feel them again. Whatever it is, by the way, if it's like, because in some resentments you don't allow yourself to feel angry because they're your family members or whatever. You're allowed to feel angry. You have to allow yourself to feel like you have to allow yourself to say, oh, I feel so murderously like rageful to that person. Of course, don't do anything. That's like that's an impulse. It's just an emotion. It doesn't mean anything. It just makes you feel bad. But you gotta let yourself feel it. Otherwise, it won't go away. It's just not going to go away when you suppress it. It never does. It never does. It never did for me. When I worked through my spiritual practice, especially, when I did this practice that I'm Call of Power Qigong. Where is it? There you go. Call of Power Qigong. When I did this, it's on my Patreon, by the way, if you want to take a look at it. Norluck Rune Wizard, patreon.com. So you can. I should actually put a link to it. It must be on my channel. When you enter my channel or my bio, you should be able to see my Patreon. If not, I might put it right now, but I'll put it later. But yeah, so like that is that one thing. When I started to did this energy practice, it rose up some stuff. Before that, I also did other stuff. This is one of the energy practices that I learned. And I'm kind of I got the permission from my teacher to teach this, so I'm teaching it and kind of teaching it online. I'm trying to teach it online so people can do the same things, have the same effects that I have. So like the transformation. And when I did these kind of practices, what I realized, like the things are coming, like the things I haven't faced from before, it came up. From my childhood, the resentments I suppressed and I just kind of forgot. Apparently it just lingered inside of me, deep inside of me, and it stayed there for a long time. So when I did this, they kind of surfaced back, and it gave me the opportunity to like, hey, like I'm back, and I allowed myself to do whatever. If I have to cry, I cried. If I have to feel angry, I felt angry. If I had to feel sadness, I had to feel that sadness. Like allowing myself to feel, like there's no such thing as like, oh, you're feeling too sad. No, like allow yourself to feel sad. Or like if someone is crying way too much because whatever happened to them, cry to your heart's content. I mean, like, who am I to say, like, oh, you felt enough? Like, you felt enough, you shouldn't feel anymore. Why would I say that? You know. But of course, we have traditions, and we have whatever it is, and we have social norms that, oh, you gotta be a man, you gotta be a man because otherwise, whatever, you gotta be a man because you want to be a little boy, and why you wanna, or you're crying, it doesn't help. I would also argue that those kind of behaviors are the ones that appear in your chronic illnesses. There's a, I don't know what is it called, fibromyalgia, or well, I don't know, I don't remember the specific name of it, but there's a specific chronic illness where, for example, in your ankle or your legs or whatever, there's specific vein that stops oxygen deliverance from your brain to this specific whatever nervous system, that thing, that connection, that vein. It stops that instantly, and like, you don't know why, it just kind of stops it. The oxygen doesn't go there anymore, and of course it becomes infected, and you get like knee pain, you get pain around your wrists, you can't do much, you can't lift your arms that much, and as you get old, and what you go through and what you think is, it's just, I guess I'm getting old. That's what you say to yourself. And maybe there's another way to like live healthy, because that's another thing that really like made me curious. Like, why is there a lot of like old people that live strong and healthy, and like some people in your 50s is just like they can't go up the stairs? Like, what is, like, I'm like, I heard like the argument of genetics, but like, it just, I don't know, like, I couldn't accept it. Like, what is it, like, if my genetics are bad, am I gonna be like that? Of course, eating good food and taking care of yourself also has those things, but there's this idea of like genetics do that, so you have no control over. I don't know, like, it sounds more, I sense victim mentality there. Like, oh, it's genetics. Okay, I can't do anything, so I should just not try. No, I'll like eat healthy, do resolve all my problems, do whatever I can, right? Do whatever it takes for me to be a healthy person. I used to do this parkour. I used to go to parkour when I was little, and there's this like parkour teacher, and the guy is in his 62 like years old or something, but the guy is very acrobatic. Like, the guy is better than young parkour teachers, like the instructors that show us how to do this, how to flip and do all of that. Parkour is a very I would love to do it again, if I find a place here. But yeah, it's just, he would do better stuff. Like, he would just climb the ropes without, the guy was like Kratos. I mean, like, he didn't look like he had much muscles, but like, the guy climbed the rope without his legs and just went down the same way. And like, one thing I heard from the guy is like, the guy knew how to preserve his energy depending on the stuff, like, because he did parkour for so long, he was able to, he knows how to not overpush yourself, overwork his specific muscle. He knows how to do that. You know how you, like, when you've learned, I don't know, like when you go to a job, when you start your job at, I don't know, in a restaurant or something. I worked in a restaurant. Like, when you work in a restaurant, for example, you freak out, you use more muscle, and you try more stuff, you use everything, and then the more you learn, you're more calm, you're more fast, right? Like, when whatever you do, it's It's like playing a guitar. It's like you play a guitar, you press the whatever the left side, the chords way too hard, and it doesn't make a sound. But like when you get better, you don't have to press that hard, and like your muscles learn. It's like muscle memory. In handpan, in drumming, for example, right? I remember when I was first doing some drumming. That's like, that was insane. I was just using, I was just like pa. I was dum dum. I was just using so much muscle and holding that drumstick way too hard, until I learned how to just kind of make it loose, and I could just like kind of hit it with my ankles loose, right? And I could just hit it. So what was I talking about? I have no idea what I was talking about. I don't know how I got there. Yeah, so well, I was talking about victim mentality. Yeah. Anyway, that parkour guy. Yeah, that guy. I mean, it's a really interesting guy. I mean, that's what I learned from him. So I'm like, I want to be healthier than that guy when I grow up. When I'm if I when I'm at his age, I want to grow to be that guy. Like I want to be healthier than that guy. I don't want any kind of health defects and whatever that is. I want to work through my guilt and whatever. So that's what it can give you. So I'm just gonna look at one thing. I gotta look at this. I will look if I'm also if I'm also live streaming on a different channel. I am not, which is perfect. Hooey. Well, here's the thing, right? That's like the whole thing that I do right now. I am going to cut this short, so I will move on. Oh yeah, like recently, one of the things that I kind of learned while doing the energy practice and like learning them through a teacher. In pantheism, like in polytheist religions, there's this mantra called Shiva Hum, which is called I am Shiva. Shiva is the god, right? In Hindu mythology, in Hinduism, and it basically means I am Shiva, and you chant that. It's a mantra. And I learned that a lot of people back when that religion in Vedic times, let's just say, people were praying to their gods so they can get the power to do whatever it wants. And nowadays we see people pray like that the god does it for us, or like just or like, let's just say, like they pray for money and being rich, and I want to be a billionaire, and you're gonna just do this, and they just like pray for that riches, but like they don't really pray for the power to get there, right? So like that idea of, I mean, the best thing to pray, whatever your religion is, one thing what you can do, I mean, if you pray, again, if you pray for the money and whatever, of course, I mean, you can do that. But like I realized a very good way to pray in anything is to ask your God or your higher power, your conception of higher power, whatever that is, to give you the power and strength the courage to do that. In fact, there's a great prayer called Serenity Prayer, right? It's apparently it's from Christianity, but I heard, right, that prayer was actually made by Seneca, the philosopher Seneca, first, and then Christians got it from him. That's what I heard. I might be wrong, Again, I haven't really researched this. This is just something that I heard. But the prayer goes like this. It says, grant me the serenity. You'd start with God or Shiva or whatever it is. You say, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh, there's a ladybug. Where did you come there? Oh. So that's the prayer. So like you don't ask the higher power to do it for you. You ask the power so that you can do it. You ask that's like you ask the help. So like that would be a quick way to kind of pray. It's like something I thought about. I want to talk about. You say, give me the power to accomplish what I have to do. And I talked about Shiva Hum. While we're in this topic of Hinduism, let's talk about yoga a little bit. Yoga. I see a lot of people think yoga as in this stretching exercise, right? And I learned that to be wrong. Apparently yoga is not just a strength. Apparently what you used to do is the teacher, you would go to a guru back in the day, however long that was, however long that is. You would go to a teacher and you would say, teacher, please teach me. And the guy apparently would just gives you this practice that you would do, and he would say, do this every day for a year and then come back. And he would see after a year if you would or wouldn't do it for 1 year, like consistently. And if he will figure it out, and then he would say, oh, never mind, you didn't do it, come next year. And then you had to commit yourself to that path. Excuse me. So and yoga, and it's what I learned is that yoga is apparently means union. Being unified with the universe, being unified with who you are, with the universe, and being one with it. And that's what you're trying to achieve energetically with yoga. And in whatever yoga it is, it's a very powerful stuff if you want to be a part of the universe, right? That cosmic power. So what the guru does is gives you that specific stretching exercises so you can do them and open the energy channels, meridians, specific energy channels, or whatever channels, whatever you will open the energy channels so you'll be ready to do the meditations, the increased, high level advanced meditation, so you'll be ready for them. So that's what it meant back in the day when people said, I will teach you yoga. I will teach you yoga. I will teach you the union, how to unify yourself with yourself, because apparently the idea is you are the universe, right? So so that's like the whole thing. That's like the whole gig. So that's something that I learned that I would talk about. So the topic wouldn't be that short. But yeah. Where is this? Okay. Yeah, so yeah, so I will talk about the next topic. Let's go on the next topic. What will I do? Oh yeah, what are runes? Oh yeah, the next topic I have is what are runes. So I talked about the importance of spiritual practices in terms of why it is important and what are the benefits and why people would do it, why you should do it. I got the spiritual practice. Is it here? Wait. Am I pointing the right direction? Is it here? Here. Yeah, for me this is right. For you it's left. And these are like the basic things that you can experience while in spiritual practices. You know. And if you want to learn more about like the TCM and stuff, you can go ahead and take a look at traditional Chinese medicine. I'll look more into it the more I get into it. So, but yeah, you know, but like one thing is like my name on this channel is not like Rune Wizard. You know, I do rune divination and websites, and in this one website I'm doing this divination, and it's like part of my job, and I'm just do rune readings, and I just talk about what runes are, and I talked about this, you know, in my first video. And so these are the cards that I use for rune divination. And runes are basically these ancient symbols, Nordic symbols, alphabets you could say, that's been used in pre-Christian by pre-Christian ancestors, even before Vikings, right? These runes have been used. And you know, of course, there's a lot of talk that, oh, there, you know, we don't know if there's a specific proof of how back it went. You know, they're still talking about that, but you know, these were used by our pre-Christian ancestors. I mean, back in Germania, right? And these, you know, if you look at the Norse mythology, depending on the mythology, in the mythology is basically what happened is Odin, the king of the gods, you know, sacrifices himself to this thing called the world tree because he wanted wisdom and he wanted this power. So what he does is he just kind of hangs himself from his feet. He hangs himself from his feet, and he, in the poems, in the mythology, like the poems, it says, screaming, he took out the runes. And runes mean secrets or whispers. That's what runes mean. And then he became the king of the gods. Odin became the king of the gods. Before Odin, there's another god named Tyr, or Tyr, god of war. He was the king of the gods. And Odin became the king of the gods, and that's what it is. You know, that specifically explains the power of the runes. And our ancestors would use runes actually to use in divination. They would use rune staves on wooden blocks, and the father of the house would specifically throw that rune to, you know, see what the gods are trying to tell them and guide them, right? That's what praying was back then. You know, they were doing the divination to ask for guidance. It's like where we should go, like what kind of actions we can take. Give us the power so we can live up to your will, or, you know, so we can go get what we want. You know, so, you know, we can follow our soul, or what is the best way to live, or whatnot, whatever they want to do, like the guidance they want to take. So those are runes, and by the story itself, it has a lot of things. So the runes itself, it was used by, it was used for divination a lot of the times. So was it Tacitus, the Roman historian, I think? Was it a historian? Roman researcher? Like, there's a guy called Tacitus. In his records, he would, of course, it wouldn't be called runes, but in his records, he talked about this, like, Germanic people would use this strange symbols on staves, and they would use it on divination. of course the guy doesn't even know what runes are, right? So he just says, oh, those are strange runes, and he would just like put it and use it as divination. Like in his records he would say that. So of course, who would know if these are runes or not? But I'm assuming that they were used in runes, it would make it really appropriate to use it in divination. You know, one thing to learn about runes is to meditate on them. One thing that I would do is, if I want to learn on a specific, or if I want to know a specific rune that much, of course I will look at it in the internet, what other people have for their definitions, yeah. But one thing to do is to meditate on them. The more you meditate on those runes, the more you end up having that fun. The more you meditate on those runes, the more you it kind of reveals themselves to you. That's like one of those things. I talked about this in my videos. You meditate on the runes to learn them. You meditate on them. And it reveals themselves to you. You get yourself a feeling. If you want, you go watch my Fehu video, runes #1, right? My first runes video. If you go and watch that, you can see like why I really I like that. Why I like that thing, why I like doing that. I explain that the more you meditate on runes, it gives you that feeling of what that rune actually is. It gives you the energy of that rune, and you understand it. And when you read, as my job constantly really helps me, like knowing the rune, and when I connect with the client, I'm like, I'm like, oh, like, are you feeling this way? And like sometimes the rune doesn't even tell me that, but because I'm so connected to the rune, I somehow get very much connected with the client as well. And I go, oh, how did you know that? I'm like, that's a good question. I didn't know. So like that's one thing, you get connected with it. So that's one of the reasons why I use runes. And the next topic I wanted to talk about was like, why runes? Why am I choosing runes? Because I feel connected to them. I simply feel very connected to runes. That's it. I don't know why that is. Whatever, like someone would say, oh, you might be someone in your past life, maybe you were someone in Scandinavia, and I'm like, maybe. I don't know. Would I like to know? I was thinking, would I like to know who was I before this? A part of me says yes, a part of me says no, because I would like to know now. If I can, I would like to know now. If there's like someone I can go to and be like, hey, I'm gonna reveal to you your past life, I'm like, let's try it out. And I'm also okay not knowing. I'm also okay trying to learn it by myself, because I know I will try to do that somehow. One day I will try to do that. Maybe I will be successful, who knows? But yeah, like, it's interesting that I felt connected with the runes, and that's like why I just made everything about my channel about runes and stuff. Rune wizard. Wizard is someone who explains that stuff. I heard this thing where I don't know where it is, like, but they were like seers, and seers were females. They went to that trance state and they meditate. They go into this state and they have those experiences that they don't know what that is, and they come back. They explain it to wizards, and wizards would explain it, would decode that message and get that wisdom out of that message. That's what a wizard is. So I specifically, intentionally made my channel's name Rune Wizard. because what this rune is, you know, this rune doesn't just specify birth and whatever, pregnant woman, I don't know, like what does it say? Rune of birth, sexuality, and renewal. It is the mother of all runes and contains the mysteries of creation. It also gives beginnings. It also talks about beginnings. You know, I can pick and choose. If a rune is specifically reversed, I can give a remedy. If I do it to myself, I give myself that remedy and I apply it, and it works. So yeah, you know, that is why I do runes. I feel connected to them, you know. And yeah, oh yeah, what's the next one? How does a reading work? Ah, how does a reading work? You know, one thing I experienced in my career while I was like a room counselor, what I did was this thing where people, you know, would oh, I just lost my train of thought. How does reading works? Oh yeah. So what I realized in reading is, when I first started, is that what I'm connecting to is, you know, I'm doing a reading, right, or psychics or whatever. What happens is you connect to the client. You, when they ask some kind of question, you make those readings, but you also connect yourself to that higher, that divine self from your crown chakra. You connect to that divine, and through you become the conduit to, by whatever clairvoyance or clairsentience or whatever clairaudient ability, to express whatever the message it is, and you tell that to the client. That's divination. That's what divination is. And you know, some people don't use any cards because cards are just tools that you use depending on the people. And I think that's my next topic. Why different divination tools? Why do I use runes and not tarot? Even though I have, you know, tarot cards here. Why am I using runes? And I feel connected to those. But what is the difference, right? Every tool has its own way of giving divination. For example, in my card deck of runes, I got 24 runes. 24 because there are 24 runes, like letters, rune letters, and 24 cards. Of course, when it is a rune stone, there's a thing called blank rune, or like Odin rune they call it, or like the Odin stone. When you buy crystal stones as rune stones, and you know, in a bag, and just shake them up and just pick one, they have this blank thing which has a different meaning, but essentially, like, it has 24. And one thing I like about runes is it's to the point. Like, it gives everything to the point. Like, whatever the problem is, it gives you, that's what's going on, and that's what you gotta do. But with tarot has like, how many cards? 108 or something. How many cards in a tarot deck? It is 78 cards. Yeah, it's 22 major arcana, 56 minor arcana. So 78 cards. Like, the difference there, 24 and 78 is crazy. So you know, that's like the whole thing. So and you know, what I noticed with tarot is that tarot tells a story. So if you, you know, want to have fun, if you want to learn more, you can have more fun with tarot, I would say. Of course, with runes it's also possible. I also do that. People get readings because they just want to have fun, right? For fun, they want to get readings, and you know, it's okay, right? So like, tarot tells a story, and with tarot, the more cards you pull, the more expansive like with an A, expensive that story becomes. It extends even. Hello, hello. Test, test. Okay, everything is fine. I'm back. My computer just crashed. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens with this old computer. It happens. So, yeah. So that's what it is. I will continue right now with whatever I have. I will put my picture up. There you go. Oh wait, not that. And I'll just put it here. The settings got kind of. All right. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, that's what tarot is. So that tarot gets expensive. It tells more stories. And why would I ever that's why I'm like tarot, it's different. It's a different tool. And the whole point of, and by the way, this is why we have a lot of readers, right? And the reason why we have a lot of readers is because, or like a lot of divination tools, is because it's just a tool that we use to just get ourselves connected to that divinity, to divine being, so we can get that. So this is just a tool for me to connect there, so I can help the client. Whatever tool I can use that helps me to be more connected to it. So it's important to find yourself a tool that you get connected with, or that you have fun. A lot of people is really connected to tarot, so do that. I saw crystal ball. I thought crystal ball was just used in, I don't know, in cartoons and stuff. But there are actually people that are using that. Whatever. Like, oh, one thing I realized, I was watching this video of this. It was a school project where we had to find things about indigenous languages. Sorry, not indigenous, endangered languages, where like some languages are about to disappear, and they go to that one place that only that part of the world speaks that language, and only few elders and few young people know. And if they are gone, the whole language is going to go, the whole thing is going to go away. So there are some linguists, they go there and and some language, they don't even have a text or like written version of it, or even if they have, it hasn't been written for a long time. So sometimes they explain, and the linguists know how to they get those languages, and they try to protect them, and they try to teach it to other people, right? So they archive it, they learn about it, they have one linguist know about this language, and they go to that tribe, or they go to that specific place, and one of the guys is like, hey, I want to offer you a divination service. And the guy's like, okay. And the guy goes, and what the guy does is, the guy is on a table, he has this specific leaves of a specific plant, and just like says some prayer or does some whatever gestures, and just spreads the leaves on the table. And depending on what the patterns do on the table, the guy tells him something. The guy says, oh, okay, you're doing too much, you gotta calm down, you're doing too much, and if you do like this, you're gonna fail in your task, so you gotta find a way to calm down. So like, he gives you that advice, and the guy goes, oh yeah, I mean, I gotta calm down. And it's that pattern thingy. I also saw it in bones. There's specific animal bones, and people will just throw that bone, and depending on the pattern, the people would just tell you what it is, right? So there you go. I mean, so these are just tools. My point is that they're just tools that people use. People use those tools to connect with the divine. That's why we have all those tools and divinators, or like readers. You know, some people are connected with my divination style. They feel better me explaining stuff to them about my connection, and they like runes more, so they do it. So they go forward with it. So, and they, you know, took my divination services, and there are other people that they connected with those. So it all depends on what you choose, really. Right? It all depends on what you do. By the way, is there anything on the chat? I didn't miss anything, right? Let me... Okay, no, yeah. Alright. Yeah, so that's like the whole thing. That's why we got lots of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, that's all the topic. I mean, I thought I was gonna talk for 20 minutes, but it's like, it's been how many hours? It's been a long time. I don't know. I still don't know. Like an hour and 30 something. I don't know. But yeah, it's been a long time. Let me. Yeah. All right. What do I type in my chat? Test. Where does it appear? There we go. Anyway, so that's the whole thing I wanted to talk about, and yeah, I just let it out. That's all I wanted to do. I'm glad I did that. That's what I wanted to do. I just want to let out. I just want to talk about everything that, I'm gonna do this again. I'm probably gonna do this again when I have a specific topic. Maybe I'll do it about runes, who knows. But apart from that, I will end the not the live stream, but I'll stop talking about now, and I will go forward with Handpan. Now, I don't know how it's going to sound. I hope it sounds good. But yeah, I hope it sounds pretty good. My microphone will be able to take the sound pretty good, but I don't know if YouTube's, because here's the thing, YouTube's sound settings might be a little less, so who knows. So what I'm gonna do is I will, let's see here. Just gonna test it a little bit. Pretty good. Let's start with an arpeggio. Let me just remove this. It's a bit distracting. Yeah. tiles with arpeggio. And let's start with now let's do the OG. now the rhythms, or like whatever the patterns that I recently learned. Oh my god, the next one. Oh, I forgot. Ah. I'm forgetting it. What was that? Well, maybe it's 3 in the morning. I'm fumbling. That's all I got for today. I will be learning more as I go along. I am a self-taught handpan practitioner, so with time I will learn more, and this is my favorite one right now. I mean, this is pretty good. Like, I'm gonna keep playing this until I maybe make my own pattern out of it. Yeah, I'll just put this back. So I thank everyone for joining me with this journey of handpan freestyle. I don't know if I can do freestyle. I'll maybe try to do that, like an attempt to do some freestyle handpan. I'll attempt to do some of that. Of course, there will be a lot of, I'll fumble a lot because I'm still trying to like remember which notes to which sound. I'm trying to get that tone into it. But I don't know if you saw, like, there's like little white circles, little things in my handpan. Those are stickers with numbers, like which one is 1, which one is 2, because when you go with the handpan on the round, it doesn't go 1 2 3 4, it goes 1 3 5. So 1 is here, 2 is there, 3 is there, 4 is there, 5 6 7, right? And 8 9. So, and you got the ding ding, on the middle part. So it's for me to remember, and somehow I look at things, right? Sometimes, for example, when I do the rhythm, I have to hit on 6, and I have to remember where the 6 is while I'm learning the notes. I take the notes on the computer, on the video tutorial that I'm watching, and I would just do that. So yeah, yeah, thank you. I guess I'll just end the stream there. Thank you, whoever was watching. I just want to get this out of my system finally. I always wanted to do this, and I'm glad that I did, even though computers crashed once. And yeah, I want to do this again on my phone, but I need 50 subscribers to do that first. So hope I get there. All right, so thank you for joining, and I'll see you whenever I see you guys. Thank you, and take really good care of yourselves. Be good to yourself, and don't be hard on yourselves. You're doing what you can with what you have, where you are, with where you are. So it's okay. I'll see you guys later.